Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. And yeah, we're gonna talk Creed 3. Alright, Creed 3. Waiting a while to see this. And I watched people's spoiler free reviews before this, talking about stuff. And before I get into the film, I need to speak about the behind the scenes stuff. Okay, so it was already announced before that Rocky Sylvester Stallone would not be in this movie. And then it came out that there was some behind the scenes stuff where like the producers were pushing him out or whatever. He was treated unfairly. And so this led to Stallone fans, which I'm a Stallone fan. I'm unabashedly, I am a Stallone fan. This led to Stallone fans standing up in solidarity and saying, no, I'm not going to see this movie because of Sylvester Stallone. And with all due respect, okay, that's stupid. You're not stupid for doing it. The idea is stupid. It's a movie. It's not like someone was racist to him or like someone beat him down in public. Michael B. Jordan didn't beat the crap out of him while the producers held him down. He was just pushed out as a producer and as part of the series. I know, something he's been a part of since 1976, but I do feel like it was handled very well in this movie. There's no disrespect towards him. There's no like ill will towards Rocky or Stallone in this movie. It's not like they're bashing him in this. They're not. He's not mentioned, and there is one scene that I feel like Rocky should have been included. That's the only part. The rest of the film, it works without Rocky. There's only one scene which we'll get to, and I've heard other reviews that there's one scene that could have used him, and I think watching this, I know what that scene is, and so I'll give my point on that, my thoughts on that when we get to it. But yeah, I thought this was done really well. But I'm not going to be one of those who freak out over a movie and say, I'm not going to watch this movie because I support Sylvester Stallone. This is really none of your business. It's really none of your business. It's between Stallone and the Winklers and whatever, right? It's nothing to do with us as fans. It's a movie. At the end of the day, it's just a movie. It's nothing to, freak out about. So with all that in mind, though, I did enjoy this. I thought it was better than the second film. If you remember my review on the second one, the first time I saw the second film, I was indifferent to it. I was like, it was fine for what it was. But when I rewatched it for my review, I did not like it at all. I felt that it was giving redemption to a murderer, and that of Ivan Drago, because that's what he was. And in all realisticness, he would have been arrested right after the fight and taken in jail. And the fact that after his fight with Rocky, he wasn't then thrown in jail for what he had done. Because, when I watched Rocky 4, I'm like, okay, they didn't persecute him, they didn't throw him in jail because Rocky's going to do this fight. But after the fight, on Christmas of all times, he was thrown in jail. That's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. No. And they decided to redeem Drago in that movie, and I didn't care for it. I also didn't like the whole plot point that they went around, because they were having a baby, and they went the route of, the baby's also deaf like Bianca. She's partially deaf. Her being deaf in this movie is not really brought up, other than she's retired from performing music. But other than that, her story from the last two films is just done. There's no moving forward on her hearing get worse or anything. She's just there. Really? But I was like, the kid didn't need to be deaf. Because, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, they did that so that they can use that as a storyteller in the next one. And sure as shit, they did that. They used sign language in this, which is fine for what it is. But I've commented on this before. When it comes to the MCU, they're going to do a whole show. Echo. I don't care. I'll probably have to watch it because you have to watch these shows to get future stuff. So I'm going to have to end up watching it anyway. But I'm not interested. Because I want to watch a movie, not read. That's why I don't watch a lot of foreign films. I watch the Godzilla movies, but it's Gojira. You don't really, you want to see Godzilla fight monsters. You don't. Dialogue is unnecessary in those movies, but in most other things, it is necessary. I will say though, it was handled very well in this movie, I thought. So we start with a bit of a flashback in this movie, right? To young Donnie and young Damien, his best friend. They were in the shelter together. And Donnie is 15, so this is after he was taken in by Marianne Creed. And so, yeah, he's 15 and Dame is 18. Okay, keep that in mind. They fight, and Dame is fighting in like a boxing match. You see Tony Little Duke Evers, right? Which it's not Evers here, it's something else. I thought it was Evers in the previous two. Here's Tony Little Duke. Something else. But yeah, Little Duke, the guy that helped train him in the first two years. He's Apollo Creed's trainer's son. Tony. But he's there, and he notices there's betting going on, whatever. And Dame ends up winning his fight. And as they go to celebrate, they go to the liquor store to pick up some food and stuff, whatever. Obviously, not alcohol, they're not old enough. But as he's walking in, he sees this guy he identifies as Leon and proceeds to punch the crap out of him. We then cut to not present day, but 3 years before the present day, so 2020. This must have been early 2020 if there's a boxing fight going on, because there's no mention of COVID anywhere in this, but he's fighting Pretty Ricky Conlan, which was from the original Creed film. So he's fighting him, and he wins, goes out on top. This is his last fight. He's going out, he's retired, and we immediately cut to present day, and he's sleeping on the couch or whatever, and his daughter comes in and asks him to, play, what is it called? Tea Party or something like that, and he's dressed like a dinosaur or something like that. And yeah, the daughter Amara, she goes to some deaf school, which I didn't realize there were schools specifically for deaf children. That's cool. But even in deaf schools, there's still the problem that all schools have, and that is the bullying problem. And I don't mean that there's bullies in the school, that the school handles bullies wrong. Because this girl walks up to Amara, takes a picture she made, and rips it in half. Amara responds by punching the girl in the face. Which, I'm sorry, I mean, it's not really bullying per se, but she could have said something here, but if there's a bully attacking a kid, or attacking you, if you're a kid and a bully attacking you, and they won't leave you alone, fight back, okay? But this is what's wrong with the school system, even in a deaf school. Amara is the one that gets in trouble, and the bully gets off scot-free. And that's what's wrong with the school system, is that a bully can pick on you all they want. If you fight back, you're the one that's going to get in trouble, and not the bully. I bet you that she got scot-free, there's nothing. And that's what's wrong with the school system, is that they'll turn a blind eye to bullies to stop violence. Yes, maybe this kid should be talked to. Violence is never the answer, but it's self-defense in a way where this other kid just gets off scot-free because the other one used violence? I don't fucking think so. And yes, it goes back to the fact that her dad's a boxer, or was a boxer. But yeah, not only we see that Donnie is now retired and he organizes fights, whereas Bianca is very similar. She doesn't sing anymore, but she's a music producer, so she organizes events. I'm sorry, that freaking other light in here is messed up. It was working, it flashed on and started working, and now it's not working anymore, but it'll flash here and there. So if you see flashes, that's what it is. And if you have seizures, I would recommend, I don't know how often it's going to flash, but just listening to my review, if you have it on a phone or a tablet, turn it upside down and listen to it. You know what I mean? Put some earphones in. If you're watching on a TV, maybe don't look directly at the screen. I don't know how often it's going to do it, but I'm just warning you, it may flash here and there. I can't do anything about it, because every time I try to use this to get up there, I'll fall down or something breaks And I'm not dealing with it anymore because I have no other way I have no ladder or anything to get up there to deal with it. I'm just hoping that it'll finally go out. Anyway, so yeah, he finds out that Dame has recently been released from jail after all those years, 15 years, I think you say it was, which is weird. Whoa, okay, it's back on. Which is weird. It was 15 years. So if he was 15, that means he'd be 30? He ain't 30, he's 36. He's not supposed to be younger than he is, which doesn't make sense till later. No. It'd be 19 years, not... Right? Right? Am I doing my math right here? Hold on. 36 minus 15. All right. 1, 2, 21 years, not 15, whatever they say. So, I don't know. Because Michael B. Jordan and I are the same age. Right? And they make a big deal about his age later in the film. So, I don't think he's only 30 here. Would make sense. Would make sense to me. So, yeah, he gets out jail, and of course Donnie feels obligated to help Dame because he's the one that sort of got him in there. And I'm gonna say this right now, they tiptoe around the reason why Dame was in jail. Like they start with that incident where Donnie as this 15-year-old punched this Leon guy, and they kind of cut back and forth the bits and pieces of what happened, but they don't come all the way around to explain what happened until about an hour and 20 minutes into the film. Yeah, that's too long to tease something. It should have been something brought up. We should have seen the whole thing at the beginning of the movie. If they're going to do something like that, a flashback at least. But, and so, and there's this fighter named Martinez or something like that. He's the champ. He's to defend his title against Drago, the younger Drago. Once again, played by the guy from the last film, Florian Montanillo, I think is the name, something like that. And he's organized this whole fight between the two, right? But Drago gets attacked by some guy. And it's not hard to figure out who's responsible, because before this he's like, you're not getting it, man. Dame's like, you're not getting it. I want a title shot. He goes, I can't just make you a contender right away. You gotta earn it. You gotta fight for it, that sort of thing. And then it's at this party that Creed organized that Drago is attacked outside by some guy. And I also feel like so when they first meet up and talk to each other, he's like, I wrote you notes, you never wrote back to me. I never got anything. Where'd you send them? Mama Creed's house. I never got them. She never showed, So obviously she hid them. And again, they don't reveal this till halfway through the film that she had kept them. It's like, yeah, the audience kind of already figured it out. And he's all mad. He's like, blames her for it, which is not 100% incorrect here. She has some fault. But she was trying to protect him, so I understand that. But, that there's some kind of leeway here where you can say, if he had gotten the letters and been able to correspond with him, then maybe it would go down different. Maybe what happens at the end of this film wouldn't happen. It wouldn't get this far where it has to be, So obviously, Dame gets the title shot, and he just obliterates this guy. He's got him all bloody and bruised, and he's the champion. He has 2 belts, and then later he has 3? I don't understand. He's like, he's undisputed champion. He's holding 2 belts. And then when he's on the beach, when Adonis confronts him because he figures that out, is he goes to Mama Creed's house. And we find out that before the film took place, Mama Creed has had a stroke already. So you're like, oh, shit. They're going to do this. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. Which is better than I thought they were going to do. when I found out that Stallone wasn't going to be in this movie, but we'll get to that. Yeah, so yeah, he's the champ now, and he's all pissed and everything, and he goes to Mama Creed's house. She shows him the letters, and she somehow figured out that Dame hired the guy because she knows what the guy that attacked Drago looks like for some reason. Was his face on TV? I don't know, but she gives him a picture, and he realizes that Dame set it up, and so he confronts him, which ends up he getting punched in the face by Dame, and then he goes home and has this big argument with Bianca, which wasn't really needed because, like, a few scenes later, a couple scenes later, they're making up again. I'm sorry, no thing, making up, and yeah. I will say though, Jonathan Majors is great in this film. He and Michael B. Jordan have great chemistry, and I think it works very well. And regardless of the situation that Jonathan Majors is in right now, I think he gave us possibly truly great performances. I've heard things about this. I've yet to see this, but I've heard things. But he's great in this as a villain. I just wish they would have followed through more with this. But I'll get to it. The ending of the film kind of made me scratch my head a little bit because it doesn't make sense to me, at least. But yeah, so Donnie goes on this. He gets a phone call from Bianca, and that's when it's found out that Mama Creed had another stroke, and she's in the hospital, and they kind of make up a little bit. They talk, and yeah, she passes away. And we see a little bit of Mama Creed's funeral, and this is the scene I think people were talking about, that maybe Rocky should have been there. I knew that she and Rocky had a falling out, but this would have been a scene to have a Stallone cameo. Like, you don't need him to train Creed. Maybe a little pep talk. Well, I saw what happened when you go on the TV, he's not showing you respect, you know what I'm saying? He give it a black eye. If I was you, I'd give him one back, you know what I'm saying? I'd do something, I'd make a challenge. I would deal with him, you know what I mean? You go out there, you deal with your own stuff, you know what I mean? You take care of it. You can't let him treat you like you're a punk, you know what I mean? You have to stand your ground. You have to show you're a man, Just a little pep talk, and then but that's, there's no Rocky cameo. It would have been fun to see a little cameo of Rocky just in that, not fun, but it'd be interesting to see him, Rocky, even though he's, you want to see Michael, you want to see Donnie kind of go on his own, but a little pep talk from Rocky would have gone a long way. It's not like he's training him, that he's teaching him stuff. No, a little pep talk from Rocky would go a long way. So, yeah. So he goes on this news show with this news guy I've seen or not news, sports show with this guy I've seen in the sports show. I can't remember his name, but he's talking to him. And then Dame calls in on the show, and the challenge is laid down, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to fight you for the World Heavyweight Championship. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. Paul, Adonis Creed is coming out of retirement. That sort of thing. And so they set up. Of course, we now have our training montage. And I want to point out that the song, two things in this song they use. One, there's the F-bomb. The only F-bomb in the movie is you get one in a PG-13 film, and it goes in a song. I guess because it meant more to do it that way. I don't know. But also, in the song, they mention Wakanda, which made me go, huh? Okay, I see what you're doing, Michael B. Jordan. I see what you're doing there. But, yeah. Training montage. And he's training with Drago. And the thing was getting knocked out because they don't know if he can still do it. Because he's been out. They call him an old man. He's only 36 years old. And if you look at the timeline of the Rocky movies, by the time he gets to Rocky IV, when he actually does end up retiring, he's older than Donnie is here. In the first film, Rocky says he's 30, right? And the first and second films take place back to back. If you want to say it's like a year later, then he's at least 31. And you go from 1977 to 1982, 5 years. So he'd be 36, which is how old Donnie is here. And then when you get to Rocky IV, which is in 1985, you would think Rocky would be pushing 40 at this point. He'd be 39, almost 40. You know, and boxers, they retire earlier than wrestlers do because it's boxing, it's real fighting. Their bodies go through more than wrestlers do. Wrestlers can go for a while. You got Ricky Morton out there, damn near 80 years old, wrestling. I think he kind of retired from wrestling. I think he's finally. I know Robert Gibson did, but maybe Ricky Morton is still going. I don't know. He's Rock and Roll Express, by the way, wrestling tag team. But anyway, yeah. So them calling him an old man Rocky was into his 60s when he fought in Rocky Balboa. You know what I mean? So I don't know what they're calling. You know, there is not really mention of Rocky. There was one mention of Rocky in the trailer, but I don't think it's in the actual film. But I don't know. I want to point out the announce team. In the first fight and in this last fight, you get Todd Grisham. Todd Grisham, who was a WWE announcer guy for quite a while. I'm going to say from like 2005 to 2010, 2011, 12 maybe. And he's here. And then you have Mauro Ranallo, who also used to be a WWE commentator. It does like UFC and boxing and stuff. Commentating in the fight between Dame and Alvarez, I think his name is. Where they fight, but yeah. But yeah, and I haven't talked about the fight scenes. There've been some kind of a point of contention for people who, have negative feedback for this movie is that they didn't like the fight scenes. I think they're done pretty well. Michael B. Jordan said that he had an anime influence with his fights, and it shows. As an anime fan, I liked it. You know what I mean? I liked the fights. Like, when you see his fight at the beginning, and he's like, okay, I gotta do this. And he's boom, 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 and you see the ripple of the body just going, and yeah, it works. And it's the fights, the way they're done. I like it. There's even a part in this fight against Dame where the entire audience is gone. And it's them. Just them fighting. There's no noise, no announcers, no crowd, nothing. Them just fighting. And at one point, Donnie gets backed up and the ropes become a cage wall. And it's just like he's stuck in the cage. He's backed up against the wall. What's he going to do? He's going to fight back. And it works. And eventually, of course, Donnie wins. And I like how they did this. Where it's not like they could easily done a Rocky 3 here. I mean, hell, there's even talks that the villain of this movie was going to be Mr. T's son. Clubber Lang's son, I should say. But they didn't go the route, and I'm glad they didn't. And they easily could have gone the route where he was still champion, and, he's like, hey, champ, give me fight. And he just obliterates him in the first fight because he wasn't ready for him. And then Donnie comes back and beats him in the second fight, which is completely Rocky 3, which, you add in Marianne's death, and that's Mickey's death there. And that's the only thing this really has in common is that a very prominent person in his life passes away. But it's Marianne, It's not, Marianne, just more, this motherly figure for him. Almost like a mother. Like Mickey was almost like a father to Rocky. So, yeah. But that's the only real big comparison to the two movies in the franchise that have 3 in the title. So, yeah, I like how they went about the story where it was like childhood friends coming ahead, butting heads, and all that stuff. So, yeah, Donnie wins. He celebrates. And then they do something that makes me scratch my head. Like, why do they think that they need to give villains redemption? What is the What is the deal with that? What's the deal with giving the villains redemption? Because you get redemption for Drago, Ivan Drago, who is a murderer and belongs in jail for the rest of his natural born life. Doesn't need to have redemption. Here, this guy has showed up and uprooted your life, your retirement. He's caused you to freak out, causing your family stress, which probably could have led to your mom having another stroke. This guy has made your life way worse than it was. He got you kicked out of your gym for a time. He almost made you lose the respect of the people you were pushing because you pushed him into doing this after the guy was taken out. He gaslit you to do all this stuff. He tricked you into pushing him in, and you're just gonna be like, man, we're cool at the end, and they do the thing, and it's like, no. Why are you all of a sudden cool with this guy? Now I would have been more in if it ended with them not reconciling, but in the next film he goes against a bigger challenge, realizes he needs help, and that's when Dane comes back in. Now with what's going on with Jonathan Majors, I don't know if that could happen now, but I could see that happening. But having this at the end, to me, just, I don't know. It's not needed. You could have just left it the way it was, This guy basically harassed him since he got out of jail, gaslit him into, becoming world champion. If he didn't, what's the word I'm thinking of? He tricked him, basically, into doing all this. And he just went, no, cool. My ribs hurt now. Like, sometimes you gotta beat respect into someone, and maybe, he's now respects him more. And it's like, Adonis apologized to him, which I get, because there is that point. But again, it was sort of also Marianne's fault for not responding to the pictures, or to the letters, excuse me. But yeah, said, nah, we cool. And then we have this little moment with him and his daughter, and the shadowboxing thing, and where she pretends to knock him down. He's like, oh, and then she grabs the champion, the world champion. Yeah, it's a cool little ending, but I did like it. I'm gonna say it's pretty good. And I have to do another ranking. But this will probably be in the middle, high up, close to the first one for me. This was a big step up from the second one, which I really do not like anymore. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on Creed 3? In the comments, let me share, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.